Hi everyone, welcome to the intuitive card reading for the week of April 28th through May 4th. So last couple of days of April into the beginning of May. Okay guys, you know the drill. Please like this video. Please share it with anybody that needs to hear the energies of the week. Please subscribe to this channel if you haven't already subscribed. I would really appreciate it. And comments down below. Your feedback is super important. I'd love to hear how this resonates with you, how it doesn't resonate with you. Just all I ask is you to be kind. And that's it, guys. Same spread. Nothing has changed there. Same 3 decks that I have been using. They are shuffled and in different order. So, yeah, different order. Yeah, from the last time. Okay, guys, let's just jump right into it. Let's see what the week has to offer us. Okay, we have Martyr upside down in the shadow, addiction to self-pity. Okay, we need to stop pitying ourselves, all right? It's, wow, pretty pretty straightforward message right off the bat here. So basically this is saying we need to stop pitying ourselves, feeling bad for ourselves, having like a pity party, like that kind of thing. This also includes not just for ourselves, but for other people. If you're feeling bad for other people, it's just keeping us in kind of like a stuck type energy. And I'm actually going to pull the next card because I want to see if they're related at all. But it just feels like we need to kind of like move past that in a way. All right, action needed. We have why. Okay. We need to start asking questions. Okay, so maybe asking questions about why we're pitying ourselves, why we're pitying others, why we're putting us in this position, but it could also not be related, right? And so I think we actually got the why last time, and that might have been in the change, if I'm not mistaken. So that might have been last week's energy. So it being here, it's saying that we really need to take action on that. So it definitely is changing. However, we really need to take action on it. So why is about asking ourselves the deeper questions, about finding more awareness, why we do the things that we do. Again, could be related to that martyr in the shadow, but we need to be asking ourselves deeper questions about the things that we're doing. So it does feel more reflective this week so far. Why we're particularly feeling this particular way. But yeah, this is definitely asking us to go deeper, basically. All right, let's keep moving on. Issue, autumn, release the old and rest. Okay, so we're having issues. When are we not having issues letting go or moving on? But basically it's saying not only are we afraid to let go of something, but we're also afraid to rest too at the same time, or we're having issues resting. So basically this is saying that we're not letting go of something that doesn't serve us. Okay, we've gotten this a few times before. We actually haven't gotten it in a while, but it makes sense to me that we're getting it now, because this really is still a year of extreme change. This is the year of the snake in Chinese astrology. Snake is always about shedding old skin, and we definitely have a card in here. I wonder if that will come up. In autumn, the leaves change. They fall off the trees, and it tends to be a little bit more of a resting time as opposed to, or beginning to rest, because winter is really the ultimate hibernation, but summer is really the ultimate, hustle and bustle. So basically it's saying that we really need to take our time, rest, but release something that maybe is in our lives making us feel like we're hustling and bustling. And guys, the difference, I get this question a lot, the difference between flow and force is when you feel like you continuously force something, not 1 or 2 times, but it continuously feels like it's draining your energy. You continuously keep doing it. You keep messing it up. It keeps breaking down. Like, for example, let's use like an old car. You've had this car, this is your first car, it's gotten you everywhere, you had your first kiss in this car, you took your first road trip in this car, and it keeps breaking down and breaking down and breaking down. You keep getting it fixed, and now all of a sudden it's really broken down again, and to fix the car, it would cost more than the actual value of the car. And this is a situation where Spirit is basically saying, like, you keep trying to make this work. It might be time to give this car up. It might be time to sell your car, okay? And then, and rest, because you put in a lot of energy, a lot of time, and a lot of maintenance into this car. And we understand that. And it's, it's very, very stressful to you. And now it's saying that you need to rest instead of stress. Okay, so whatever that's kind of going on here, you know, I use the car thing as an example, but it could be really anything. So there's something here that we keep trying to make work that's not necessarily working, and we need to let go and rest instead. Think about the thing that's really stressing you out, right? All right, challenge. We have advocate in the light. Okay, inspires you to put compassion into action. Okay, so this is saying that we're not doing this. Okay, so this might be something to do with the martyr, upside down, in the shadow, the feeling like we are feeling bad for ourselves, feeling bad for others. And advocate says in the light, it's basically saying, okay, you know, whatever's bothering you, whatever is making you feel that way, put it into action. But it's under challenge, and it's saying that we're not putting it into action. Okay, we're not capitalizing on that, the advocate archetype. So it's kind of like we think about like, oh, you know, we hate the way that how the world is going, or the direction that the world is going, but it's kind of at the same time saying, okay, so what are you doing about it, right? And that's really what this is about. Okay, so guys, we need to, you know, put some, I think I mentioned this last time, pep in our step. Right? We need to do, you know, if something is bothering you, you're the one that, you can't wait for somebody else to come around and make it not bother you anymore. You have to actually do it. And that's what it's saying. It's saying you're having an issue advocating for yourself, or advocating for the particular thing by doing it yourself. Okay, so we're having that pity party instead, and that's not good. So definitely that makes sense for sure. So all right, what's changing here and now? Okay, being present. Looking at where you are now, not necessarily looking towards the future, not looking towards the past. So we're definitely becoming a little bit more present, which is good. Presence is always about take it day by day. That has literally been my motto for the last several years. Take it day by day. All you can do is take it day by day. I do want to say something that jumped out at the card, jumped out at me from this card, and the energy is pretty strong, so I have to say something. It has a red flag. If you look, I don't know if you can see it, but if you look closely at the red flag, it says you were here. But really the red flag really, really jumped out. So what could be also changing in your life is the ability to spot red flags or notice things that aren't for you, you taking the time to really process that and understand that, and not move forward with something that does feel like a, you know, because you spotted red flag. Could be relationships. You always hear red flag with relationships. Could be a job offer or something. Could be just something in general in life. But you see something as like a red flag and not moving forward, and you're learning from that. So anybody that needs to hear that, I hope that was helpful. But that's also changing too. But again, changing as far as like staying present, not necessarily future hopping, you know, worrying about the, you know, the future, or anxiety, you know, from thinking about like the past. You're definitely take it day by day. And it seems like you guys are doing that because it's under the change, right? Take it day by day. That's all we could do. All right, focus. We have connect with your emotions. Okay, so basically pretty straightforward there. It says, please focus on your emotions this week. What comes up, make sure you're processing them. Make sure you're being emotionally expressive. And yeah, not too much more I can say here. All right, what's under reflect? Because we know we've got some reflective stuff going on in the action needed. So let's see what's here. We have femme fatale in the shadow, inappropriate use of sensuality, attachment to money and power. Okay, so reflecting on our attachment to money and power, reflecting on maybe, I know a lot of people use the term toxic masculinity. I'm using toxic femininity. Okay, take that as you will. Could mean different things, but maybe you use your appearance to get ahead. Maybe you are overly focused on your appearance and more of the physical, maybe more material possessions, things like that. So we need to reflect on that. Good question to ask yourself. I sometimes call it whying yourself to death. Why do you do that? Why is that important to you? Etc., etc. So pretty much why yourself to death with some of those questions there. Okay, responsibilities. We have to be fair. Okay, so your responsibility is to be fair, to be balanced, very similar to like a judgment card. So yeah, so basically it's saying please juggle your responsibilities responsibly. Make sure you have enough time for certain things. If you start a project, make sure you have enough time for it, that kind of thing. If this is a week of overworking, or you know you have to do overtime or something like that, just be very mindful of maybe other things in your life that may need attention. Like, you know, maybe your child or your relationship or something like that. So just try to balance as best you can, but yeah, basically do your best. All right, money, finances, and career. What do we got going on here? We have summer, bask in joy and light. Okay, so we have autumn to summer. Look at that. Okay, so oh, I picked out of order. No, I didn't. I'm good. Okay, sorry, I got confused for a second. But even if I did, I see that as like an intuitive sign, right? That the card needed to be picked. Okay, anyway, summer, bask in joy and light. This is great for money, finances, and career. We've had some really wonky energy coming through for this slot here, so I'm glad that it's basically a straightforward. Summer is always about joy. It's about the lightheartedness. It's about hustle and bustle. As I mentioned in the autumn card, it's another seasonal card. So at least the season of money, finances, and career is positive. So very positive things happening at work. Could be so many different things, but it's a good work week. That's all I have to say. A good week for money. Okay, abundance is definitely included in that. So I love that. Like I said, we haven't necessarily gotten like a technically great card for that yet. In a while. So I'm glad that that's there. All right, what do we have as surprise? Addict compromises integrity and honesty, allows an addictive pattern to have authority over your inner spirit. Okay. An old addiction comes back. Maybe this isn't great news for people that really have serious addictions. Maybe you've been trying to quit smoking and you pick up a cigarette this week, okay? Don't mean to discourage anybody. This is just the energies that I'm reading. If this doesn't happen to you, that's wonderful, you know, but I'm just reading the energies as I usually do. Maybe you have really curbed your habit of doom scrolling all the time and you find yourself really doom scrolling this week. Maybe you're on a weight loss journey and you go back into overeating or something like that. Don't make this your destiny though. Okay. That's why I really don't love using the word destiny, because I don't want you guys to hear this and be like, oh, well, I'm just going to overeat because Spirit says that might happen this week. Go about your normal week, right? Do not let the cards dictate, don't let Spirit dictate, right? How the week is going to go for you. But again, just saying, this is what the energy is coming up, and I'm always going to be honest with you guys. So there might be something where we slip or something like that, but don't use it as an excuse, okay? And I'm talking to you guys out there. Don't use it as an excuse. However, if there's a slip up, try to move past it as best you can. Give yourself some compassion, and try to get back up on if it's alcohol, for example, the wagon. Okay, so yeah, there's not too much more I can say about that. Just sending you good vibes, basically. Okay, we have Friends, New Life. Oh my goodness, you cannot make this up. I believe we got this in the same slot, excuse me, last week. So we still have, first of all, it's doubling down. Spirit is saying, I meant what I said, right? And so basically it's saying we're having a new life. So definitely new friendships, new way to approach relationships, new people surrounding us. Maybe, I've been talking about, as an example, maybe people have moved, right? Because again, this year is about change. This whole year is about change, shedding old skin, moving on, things like that. So this makes sense here. So definitely something's happening here. Maybe you have your existing relationships, but they're different. They've changed. They're graduating to a new type of relationship. Maybe you have a friend that actually moved away, right? And so and they've always been your next, living next door to you or 5 minutes away from you. That's a new life with a friend, right? Because your communication is going to be different. How often you see each other is going to be different. Your closeness might be different. Okay, so there's some newness coming here. But as a Gemini, as a Gemini sun, as somebody who likes new beginnings and, gets really excited at the unknown. That's a great perspective shift. Sometimes we get perspective shift cards, but I'm just giving you my own personal perspective shift is that, this is, and I'm definitely feeling a lot of positive energy from here. So embrace it as much as you can. And this is just like the next level in your, friendships and how you connect with other people. So, just go with it, do the best that you can. All right, romantic connection. What do we got going on? Hold the space. Okay, so holding the space for each other. So you might have your significant other reveal something to you this week, or have a bad week, and your active listening skills really need to be. Did we get this last time also in this slot? Oh my gosh, I don't remember. That is wild if that's true. I don't think so, because I definitely mixed up the order. So I'm going to say probably not. I know definitely. I'm 99% sure on this one, but maybe it's similar type energy that I'm getting that is sparking a remembrance here. But active listening skills are going to be really important in your relationships, romantic relationships this week. Holding space for other people, which means allowing them to vent, allowing them to maybe they're the martyr, right? Maybe they're talking about how much that they don't like themselves right now, or hatred of themselves, or how they pity themselves or something like that. And so basically, you're here to hold the space for them, but also, be a good significant other and try to like move them out of that energy. Or it might be the opposite, meaning like your partner is a really good active listener. Your partner is holding the space for you. Your partner is helping you get out of that, self-pity place or something like that. So, and if it doesn't have to do with self-pity, maybe you just had a bad work week or something, which according to the summer, maybe not. But whatever it is, it definitely does feel like there is this, like, let's put it this way, they're not dismissing you, right? They're not avoiding you. They're not dismissing you. They're not neglecting you. They're allowing you to get it all out, be that emotionally expressive, which is good because we have to connect with the emotions. And we should be focusing on that, getting it out, processing, feeling, that kind of thing. So that's really good. And for our single people, I don't want to forget you. You might go on a date with somebody that's like a really good active listener or something like that. Okay, important, upside down engineer, reliance on mechanistic solutions without regard for emotional consequences. Okay, so this is actually being like a little bit more logical, thinking about only the logistics, that kind of thing. So it's saying it's important not to just think that way. So another card kind of saying like, don't forget about the emotional part of things. It's great that maybe, so take the example of moving. So you're moving your whole family across country. You got all the logistics down, when the movers are coming, how many boxes they can take, how much it's going to cost you in your budget, how long it's going to take them to move everything cross country, et cetera, et cetera. Those are the logistics. This is basically saying, don't forget about the emotional piece as well. Have you processed leaving your hometown? Have your children processed leaving all their friends at school? How will they do in a new school? Make sure they're okay about it, ask them questions, that kind of thing. So it's important that it's wonderful that you crossed your T's, dotted your I's, but at the same time, make sure the emotional aspect is there as well. So yeah, these three cards right here about the emotional aspect of things are very interesting. So just, it's coming through for a reason, guys. So pay attention to that. All right, health and wellness. What do we got? We've got truth be told. Okay, so this is about authenticity, telling the truth, being authentic. So what's an example here? Maybe you're on a mental health journey and it's important for you to be yourself. Tell the truth about who you actually are. You're starting to be more okay with that through the process of therapy. I love that. Like the opposite of this is like gaslighting yourself. Like that's the pretending everything is okay. Not necessarily accepting where you are. Being truthful with who you are. Maybe, oh God, there's so many different things I can use for an example, but guys, the truth is like really hard. I would, let me just say this really quick. So there's nothing necessarily, I wouldn't say, I'm steering away from good and bad. Sometimes I slip up and I say it, but like sometimes we gaslight ourselves because the truth is really hard or we can't accept it for where we are right now. And do whatever you have to do when you're in survival mode. Like you just have to do it. Like for me, with my journey, and I am using myself as an example here, I believe I gaslit myself a lot, you know, like sometimes I use like toxic positivity. I just run like very optimistically. So, you know, I try to tell myself, it's not so bad, it's not so bad, it's not so bad. It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. And it's hard to like admit to yourself, like when you're in a really bad spot, and you just kind of, you know, gaslight yourself like it's almost over, it's almost over, it's almost over, which is what I've been saying for the last several years. It clearly isn't almost over, quote unquote. So this to me would be like, you know, tell yourself the truth. Like it's pretty bad, it's going to be a long time, and you're not quite there yet, right? That would be like actual radical honesty and just telling yourself the truth, right? And so it's okay. It's okay. So it definitely does feel like there's this, again, quote unquote, radical honesty that we're telling ourselves. We're being authentic with ourselves. We're actually seeing things for what they actually are this week, and that's okay. And it doesn't matter. I'm on a physical health journey. I mentioned a mental health journey. You know, could be a spiritual journey. Could be any type of journey, really. And your emotional journey, whatever. You know, put that in the mental health category as well. But it's important that we tell ourselves the truth about what's actually happening. And I definitely do think that we come to that conclusion this week for sure. Sending hugs, because the truth does hurt. It really does. All right, overall outcome. Take charge with authority. Okay, so this is about taking charge with authority. This is about leadership. This is about feeling like we're in a place where we can actually lead again, which is great. This coming in the overall outcome is a really positive thing to end with, because it's basically saying, no, I do have the authority. I can step into a more leadership position, especially coming from that first card, which is like, again, that martyr card right off the bat is kind of like, again, that self-pity is like kind of like self-hatred. Like it's obviously a disempowering type card. And this one is obviously, an empowering type card. So we're definitely starting out the week with, not so great energy, but it definitely flips towards the weekend, which is really great, because we definitely do feel like, as long as, you take into account like a lot of these different things. But there's something about like realizing that we're smarter than we actually think that we are, that we're more powerful than we actually think that we are. That's like a given. We have more knowledge than we think that we do. We have more authority in some way, shape, or form, to speak on something, to be of something, to lead something along those lines. So it definitely does feel like we're ready to take charge and lead, going into, coming out of a week where we kind of start with, feeling meek, feeling bad for ourselves, feeling sorry for ourselves, like different things like that. So it definitely gradually gets better as the week goes on. And I like to hear that. And maybe this is more April energy too. I actually haven't pulled the April energy yet, and I'm excited to do that. So maybe, I'm sorry, May, my bad. May, because again, this reading is for half of April essentially and half of May. So maybe more of May energy. It feels like we are stepping more into our power, and we're definitely feeling like we have more authority and more take charge energy. And so I love that. So, all right, guys, I hope you have a wonderful week. This doesn't look, speaking of red flags that I mentioned in the reading, I pick out red flags here, and I don't see anything here that necessarily would be a red flag, except the surprise card with the addict. But remember, you're in control. The week gets better as we go on. We become more empowered as we go on. But sending love to everybody out there, just in case this does turn sour in some way, shape, or form, in a more extreme way. But other than that, I think the week looks good. So everybody have a wonderful week, and I'll see you next time. Bye.